Next, I want to talk about JavaScript variables. Variables provide a way to store information in the program that we can use later. That variable sets aside a spot in the computer memory, and whatever name the programmer gave that spot in memory, we can use that name to store and retrieve data into that spot using the name. So if we want to have a variable, the first thing we have to do is declare a variable. And we declare a variable by using the keyword var. The keyword var is just lowercase var. And then what comes after that is a space, and then whatever name you want your variable to be. There are a few rules about the name, but let's look at this example, some name. We can declare that in our JavaScript. So I'm going to type in var some name. And JavaScript likes a semicolon at the end of your statement, so I'm going to put a semicolon there. Now it's returning back to us undefined. That is just how the console works, letting us know there's no value coming back to us. There's no expression being evaluated, returning something back to us, so it returns us undefined. We can add a value to our location by using an assignment. So we can say some name equals, well, I'll just put my name in there, Jocelyn. Now, some name has been set with the value of Jocelyn, and it's just the console that is returning that Jocelyn. If we write this code in a program, we won't see these intermediate results. Now, if we want to look at what is actually stored at some name, we can just type in some name, and that's going to return Jocelyn. Well, maybe I want to be more formal, so I want to change some name to be Ms. Richard. Now, if I check what's in some name by typing in some name, saying recall that information, it's going to give me back Ms. Richard. So what we did is we changed what was stored at the location some name. And so you have to be careful that you're not throwing away something you wanted to keep. There's no longer any place that's storing Jocelyn because I changed it to Ms. Richard. I used the exact same variable name and I assigned it a different value, and therefore Jocelyn has disappeared and in its place is Ms. Richard. Well, the great thing about programming is you can create multiple variables. So now let's declare another new variable. We can declare a variable and initialize it at the same time by using the second format. So we're going to use the var again, come up with some name, and then use that assignment and set it to 5 right away. So I can say var some other name is set to the value 5. Now if we look at some other name, you'll see that 5 is stored in that location. The type doesn't matter in JavaScript, which is very different from a lot of other languages. You can change the type with the variable. I could take some other name and set that equal to the string Maisie, my dog's name. So we can declare variables, we can assign variables values, and we can recall those. Now, the assigning value, we use the equal sign. That equal sign has meaning in math, saying that it's equivalent. It's a little different in computer science. In computer science, it means assign that value to the variable. So if I say some other name is equal to my dog, I'm not asking if some other name is equal to my dog. I'm saying assign, store my dog into some other name. We'll be using slightly different symbols for the equivalents, and we'll cover that later. Now let's talk about those variable names. We randomly pick some name and some other name, but there are some rules on what you can use to create a variable name. The first character of a variable name must be one of the following: any letter, the $sign character, and the underscore character. So we could have declared a variable $dog and assigned that the value of Maisie, because that $sign is a legal first character. And $dog has Maisie in it. We can also use underscore. So I set underscore my name to the value Jocelyn, which is a string. And if I recall that, you can see my name is holding the value Jocelyn. So those are the valid first characters. So variable names can also have numbers. So maybe I want to create a variable for my name 2, and I want to set that to equal to Richard because it's the second part of my name, so I'm going to call it my name 2. And I could have my name 1 and set that equal to Jocelyn. It's pretty common to use numbers in variable names. The one thing you have to be careful about is that you can't use it as the first character. So if I wanted to say 1 slice of pizza, my variable bar space 1 slice of pizza equals 20 people want 1 slice of pizza, I'm going to get an error. And that error is saying that I cannot use numbers for my very first character in a variable name. So instead, I have to do something like 1, like this. And then it's fine. And we have our variable. So that's the rule on the syntax for variable names. But what makes a good variable name? Let's look at these variable names that we have on the slide. We have $5, underscore dollar, sum, and D9. Think about which of those variables help you understand what's being stored there. Well, sum is the only one that gives us any clue. Sum is the sum of some numbers. If we stored our sum in a variable like underscore dollar, it would be harder to remember what we're saving in that location. So we want to take advantage of the ability to create variable names that are meaningful. Most programming environments, whether it be in your classroom or your job, they will follow some coding standards. And that means that even though JavaScript is okay with you creating a variable underscore dollar, your teacher or your boss is not okay with those kind of variable names. There's one extremely common coding standard, and that is to use camel case to name your variables. Camel case is a term used to describe the running of words together and then capitalizing every word change, the first letter of every word change, and so that it stands out and makes it easier to read. For example, camel case here, it's 2 separate words, and so we capitalize the C of the second word. We can string together multiple words, and so here we have sum of test scores, and for every change of word, we add the of, we capitalize the O. At test, we capitalize T. At scores, we capitalize the S. And that makes it easier to read. And so in this class, I would like you to use camel case for all of your variable names. When we first create a variable, it is assumed to be undefined. Let's try that out. Let's create a new variable. If I check my type of my new variable, it's going to give me back undefined. It doesn't figure out what the type is until you actually assign it a value. For example, if I say type of one slice of pizza, it knows it's a string because I assigned it a string. Now remember, it's a string because it's in the quotation marks, even though the characters within the string are digits. It's a string because of those quotation marks. Now, maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I wanted that to be a number. I can just go ahead and take my one slice of pizza variable and reassign it to 20 because I wanted it to be a number. Now, when I look at type of one slice of pizza, now it's switched to number. So we can redefine the types just by giving it new assignments. A lot of other programming languages use strong typing, and you are unable to change the type of a variable once it's declared, but in JavaScript, it's happy to accommodate you in whatever way it can for variables.